In this case of the disappearance of a little girl, literally everything is strange. 5-year-old Hailey Cummings disappeared without a trace one night in 2009, right from her home. The circumstances of what happened, as well as the information gathered during the investigation, leave many questions that remain unanswered to this day. Hailey Cummings was born on August 17, 2003. Her parents loved her, but her childhood was far from happy. Hailey lived with her father, Ronald Cummings, and his wife, who was several years younger than Ronald. Hailey also had a younger brother, Ronald Jr. Their biological mother, Crystal, did not take part in raising the children. The reason for this was that Crystal had her parental rights revoked due to her addiction to illegal substances. Despite her problems, the woman visited her children almost every weekend. The Cummings family lived in the small town of Satsuma, Florida. The area around the town was surrounded by many impassable swamps, which is quite common for Florida. Hailey was not an ordinary child. She had Turner syndrome, a chromosomal disorder. Despite her condition, Hailey developed along the same lines as other children. Ronald spent most of his time at work, and his girlfriend Misty took care of the children. At the time of Hailey's disappearance, Misty was only 17 years old, and Ronald was 25. The young couple had recently started living together, and Misty was happy to look after Ronald's children. On the fateful night, according to Misty's account, she was at home with the two children, who were peacefully sleeping in the same room with her. Later, her testimony would change, and it would sound entirely different. February 9, 2009 was an ordinary weekday. Hailey, as usual, came home from kindergarten with Misty. The girl prepared dinner for the children, and after they ate together, they watched TV. Around 8 p.m., Misty gave the children a bath, and at that time, they typically started getting ready for bed. From this point, things began to get strange. Initially, Misty claimed that the children lay down together with her on a large mattress while she went to the bathroom to wash a blanket. Later, she changed her story, saying that little Ronald stayed with her, and Hailey lay down on a small mattress beside them. Misty fell asleep around 10 p.m. Around 3 a.m., she woke up and went to the bathroom. As she passed the kitchen, she noticed the light was on, which confused her because she clearly remembered turning it off. When she entered the kitchen, she saw that the front door was wide open and someone had propped it open with a brick. In that moment, Misty rushed to the children's bedroom and was horrified to realize that Hailey was nowhere to be found. In a panic, she called Ronald, who immediately rushed home from work. Upon arriving home, Ronald and Misty called 911 to report the disappearance of the child. During the call, they were in complete hysteria, shouting and crying into the phone, demanding that police be sent to them as quickly as possible. Interestingly, Ronald's mother was already at their house. She had arrived very quickly after the incident, likely because she was nearby. The police officers also arrived promptly at the scene. When the police arrived at the scene, Ronald insisted that Hailey was afraid of the dark and would never have left on her own. The police interviewed Misty and little Ronald. The boy claimed that a man in black clothing had taken his sister. The officers didn't believe him, thinking it was just a child's imagination. However, investigators concluded that Hailey might have been abducted. They began checking all local criminals who were serving sentences for violent crimes involving children. The police and volunteers searched every corner of the small town, and house-to-house canvassing was conducted. Ronald and Misty even appeared on TV, making a public plea to the kidnapper, asking for their daughter to be returned. The public started to suspect something was off with Misty's testimony. Many believed that someone else was in the house that night, someone Misty knew well. There were also questions about how an outsider could have entered the home since there were no signs of forced entry on the door. Ronald and Misty were both subjected to polygraph tests, and according to official reports, Misty failed the test. What's strange is that the police did not respond to her failed test. Vast areas of impassable swamps around the town were also searched, but it proved to be futile. It seemed as though there were no more leads for the police, but unexpectedly, on February 18th, an anonymous call was received at the station. The caller claimed that Misty wasn't even home that night. The anonymous tipster said that Misty had been at a party in a local establishment that evening. Searches were also conducted with specially trained dogs, but this too yielded no results. Investigators repeatedly questioned Misty and concluded that not all of her statements lined up. During one of the interrogations, the girl said that she hadn't even woken up that night. Additionally, Misty claimed that her brother and cousin had been in the house that night. These new details drastically changed the course of the investigation, and they were thoroughly checked but not corroborated. It's most likely that Misty invented this story right during the interrogation. According to Misty, the men came to their house that night looking for Ronald's gun. They didn't find the weapon, and it's unclear for what purpose it was needed, but instead, they decided to take Hailey. Misty's story sounded quite convoluted and nonsensical. Later, the children's biological mother revealed that Ronald was a very aggressive person and had often beaten her. Despite all of this, Misty remained one of the main suspects in the case. By that time, investigators had completely ruled out the possibility of a child abduction. On January 20th, 2010, Misty, Ronald, and her brother were arrested. This happened almost a year after Hailey's disappearance. However, they were not arrested for being involved in the child's disappearance, but for the trafficking of illegal substances. The court imposed strict sentences for trafficking in large quantities, with Misty receiving 25 years in prison and Ronald getting 15 years. Misty is still in prison, while Ronald was supposed to be released in 2022. In prison, Misty gave an interview to a media outlet in which she claimed that Hailey was in Mexico and that a large sum of money was being demanded for her return. However, very few people believed this, considering it just another one of her fabrications. After his release, Ronald intended to continue searching for his missing daughter. This year, Hailey would have turned 20, but there is still no information about her. She remains listed as a missing person. And that concludes our coverage of this tragic story. If you found this video informative or thought-provoking, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more updates on cases like these. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. Feel free to share this video with your friends and give it a thumbs up if you found it valuable. Thank you for watching.